Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, also known as The Meaning of Life from 1983, directed of course by the wonderful Terry Jones, and yes, the final Monty Python feature film that was ever made. So yes, that is quite special. Once again we are back and finally here to discuss and to start, really discussing, the works of Monty Python and yes, what a pleasure that will be, of course. There will be spoilers, or yes, I will be discussing this film, in detail. So, if you haven't seen this film, I would recommend watching it first and then going back to this discussion or review, if you will, and we can go from there, of course. And yes, with that said, yes, indeed, a very, very interesting film here. And you may ask, why am I reviewing this first and then, instead of Holy Grail, for example. But I think I just wanted to do this. I wanted to start with The Meaning of Life, simply because it's easier to kind of do that and then move on to, I think I can say a lot more about Holy Grail, for example. But of course, I will be hopefully as well, this year, of course, watching and actually talking about the TV series Flying Circus. So yes, and just other discussions perhaps on Monty Python, going forward, because these guys really have emerged as some of my absolute favourite, just individuals in cinema, and these six legends. They are really some of the funniest people, who have ever lived, and these kind of three films, The Meaning of Life, being of course the final one, Holy Grail and Life of Brian, of course, and now for something completely different, is kind of, it's kind of a feature taking sketches and stuff from their show, so of course, but these three other works are their kind of original, pieces, made for, for film, of course, for the cinema, actual with original content here. So of course, these are kind of essentially a trilogy, spiritually, and yes, I wanted to kind of discuss this film first, and then kind of end with Life of Brian. I think that's kind of an epic way to do it, and yes, just easier for me to just kind of get my thoughts through that, and because yes, I think there's just more to say about the other two works, just for me in personal kind of experience. But yes, of course, I saw this film kind of this year for the first time, and of course, shortly after that, I heard of the very tragic news that Terry Jones had passed away, and it's just so sad. When that kind of that news came through, and since then, I've watched this again. So I've seen it twice this year. So yeah, I just as well, I've seen Holy Grail twice this year, and Life of Brian as well once this year, and I plan on watching that again, very, very soon. I'm going to review Holy Grail within a kind of a week or two from this review upload as well. So yes, all Monty Python, kind of all around me kind of thing, and yes. This film is very, very interesting, of course. Very different, to Holy Grail and Life of Brian. It's very clear, but I think this film. It seems like it's kind of a bit of a controversial film. I guess it's considered, by many to be the weakest, kind of Monty Python work, and I wouldn't necessarily, kind of disagree with that. In terms of, I do actually prefer now Holy Grail and Life of Brian to this, but I think. Despite that, to call this maybe some would say it's kind of a disappointing work, or not too great of a Monty Python work. I actually disagree. I think, when I first saw this, I was quite blown away actually. Actually seeing it again since my first watch, I think you just once again you just reminded me of how much genius is in this film, and I think how amazing this work is, and just how. It's a magical film. It's more of a musical, of course. It's actually a full-on, musical in essence, of course. But I think as well, it's kind of very, very touching. This film, it draws on a lot of the stages of life. Of course, this is more of a sketch format, or kind of form, but it has got, of course, this loose structure, these kind of tying together of these different stages of life, of course, and these different comments, perhaps. And of course, we are accompanied by the kind of the short, the Crimson Permanent Assurance, which of course lasts for quite a chunk of the opening. It's kind of this short film that's kind of within this. I do consider it part of film, but of course it's completely different to the rest of the actual the feature film, and of course it lasts until the kind of 17-minute mark. Then we of course have all the members as fish, and we kind of see them there, and of course that scene plays out around the 17-minute marks, kind of thing. And then we have the epic and hilarious title sequence, which lasts until around 20 minutes and 15 or 20 seconds into the feature, and then we actually have the main bulk of the film starting. We have the stage of birth to begin with. We have growth, and then we go into war, middle age, etc., and eventually old age and death, and then we have this kind of what is the meaning of life, and in between this we have different things where you'd have maybe the middle of the film, Terry Gilliam announces that, and we have all these different kind of random, you could say, kind of intermissions or separations in between these different stages, of course. But in the end, we did also have this kind of scene with Michael Palin, and it's just really wow, this film. I really love this film. I think it's very actually very underappreciated, and it seems like it's getting more kind of love now. But I think this is very very striking actually, this film, and it's not just a hilarious film, which it is of course, and it's very very different type of humour. I think it's definitely more British humour as well, actually, a very particular type of morbid, and actually kind of dark humour, in a sense as well. But of course, it is, as well as being funny, it's very, very actually quite emotional, especially towards the end of the film. And ironically, once again, just like Holy Grail and Life of Brian, what the things they're kind of parodying or commenting on, I think, they're so effective. They are genius, in kind of parodying, different works, genres, for example, or just different things, or exploring different themes. But of course, ironically, while also being so effective in the parody form, it actually becomes kind of for example, Holy Grail is actually in the end quite an epic, just adventurous film with actually some really great choreography, for example, sword fights. And Life of Brian is actually kind of epic and spiritual, even though it's kind of commenting on that and kind of parodying. And this, of course, is actually kind of spiritual and quite a touching comment, and way in which you feel these different stages of life. So you do have, of course, the kind of comedy going in there, and the way it works on these different genres and stuff, and in this the stages of life, but it is actually in the end, ironically, an effective kind of narrative, and actually kind of dramatically, maybe, and emotionally and spiritually, it is actually kind of this satisfying feeling, and it's just such a genius thing to do that, kind of blurring the lines between the comedy and drama in that sense, although definitely full-on comedy more than drama. But I think this film is so special. It really, really is, and I think just really very slight flaws I have with this film. Not too many at all. And I think yes, I do personally prefer Holy Grail and Life of Brian, but I think this one here, this is a truly great film, in my opinion. And yes, just so joyous, uplifting, and then kind of. It transforms, as we know, into this more of a kind of dark and somber piece, and we do have, of course, many musical numbers in the film. Of course, we have the Galaxy song, which is just one of the most legendary kind of moments musically, in film, really, actually. And I love Eric Idle in this film. I think Eric Idle is definitely at his best maybe in this film, and that's really high praise, because he's so great, of course, but the other works as well. I love Eric Idle, and I think just everyone here once again, really just so good. And this is very very different as well, because we have this kind of loose structure, of course, and we have this short film, which is just hilarious as well. Not as good as the rest of the film, I must say. The Crimson Permanent Assurance, it's not quite as funny and as engaging, I feel, as the rest of the actual film, the main feature film. But I think and if that maybe had been if I wasn't including that, or if it had been, to the standard of the rest of the film, because really the rest of the film is pretty much, flawless and just absolutely stunning. I think it could have been higher marks from me, but I'll give this a very, very high score. Having said that, but yes, despite the kind of loose structure here, I do feel, it does have a narrative. As I say, it does all tie together and it has a kind of progression, at least in the sense of tone, and flow, and I feel just kind of the actual subject matter and the way it kind of spiritually progresses. There is this kind of narrative in that sense. It's just not as kind of in the way of, for example, Holy Grail, or even more so Life of Brian. They are full on kind of narrative films in that sense. But I think that doesn't discount this film. I don't think it's just kind of sketches thrown in there. I think it really is quite a kind of visionary film, actually, and I think just this film, of course, as well, once the kind of Crimson Permanent Assurance kind of ends and stuff, we have this this hilarious scene as well, of course, with the operating table there, and it's just I think everyone in this film, they're so hilarious, the 6 members, of course, and it's very interesting as well, because we have Graham Chapman. He is not as kind of big in this film in the sense of he's not the main protagonist. He was the main protagonist, of course, of Holy Grail and Life of Brian, but in this film he is just kind of he has a kind of less so of a kind of in a way of roles, or in kind of pivotal roles, in the film, less so than the other members, really, or just as much. So he isn't the kind of main protagonist here, and that's very interesting. I think Holy Grail and Life of Brian worked perfectly in that sense. How he was the one that carried the film with his kind of deadpan humour. Just the actual. I think there is something so engaging about Graham Chapman's kind of characters, in those 2 films, which we'll get to, but in this, of course, they all kind of have their own. It's very balanced in that sense, and we have, them all kind of playing their part, in a kind of equal terms. Although Michael Palin, John Cleese, of course, they're kind of focused on even more so. But Eric Idle, for me, personally, I think he's the standout, in this film, and I think he's just absolutely hilarious, of course, and. Just all these different moments early on, they are hilarious, of course, and the scenes in Yorkshire, this is a real, of course, this is kind of full on, in the UK, and it's very, very, very British, and in a particular way, of course, a bit different to Holy Grail, Life of Brian, of course, and it's not as grand, it's not as despite having a bigger budget here, it's not as grand and kind of. Maybe sweeping. I know these are comedy films, but they're Holy Grail, and of course even more so, yes, Life of Brian. They feel like these big epic, kind of productions. It's very, very interesting, but I think it really feels very, very focused. This film, even though it's got kind of a sketch format, I think it's just constantly engaging, just hilarious. Very few kind of moments where it kind of dips. I feel maybe just some of the war scenes, or maybe just one scene in particular. The tiger scene there, maybe isn't quite for me personally, as funny as the rest of the film. And I think the middle of the film, just isn't quite as kind of pretty much perfect like the rest of the film is. But I think even then, it's always there's never a point where it's kind of not funny at all. I think this is really a hilarious film. Some standout moments. We kind of go through this in a kind of order. But the birth scenes, they are hilarious, and just this film is so charming, and so kind of once again just seeing these guys, that just didn't grow up really. These silly guys. The Pythons, Monty Python, of course. That is what they are. Although. They are genius creators as well, inspiring people, and it's kind of a perfect balance. You have this silly, kind of innocent humour, but of course, really intelligent, I feel, and that's a kind of really unique combination when you have all this talent, 6 individuals, all kind of, inputting, in the writing department at least, and, these guys, of course, I think they really were, some of the genius, creators, in terms of comedy and just in terms of cinema, these guys, Monty Python, they are quite, they are definitely some of my heroes actually, and I think just, John Cleese, in this film as well, straight away in that scene there, it's hilarious. Michael Palin, of course. I love Michael Palin in this film as well. Once again, I especially love, Sergeant Major. Just that is a hilarious moment. Kind of later on in the film, of course, and that's a moment we'll get to. But we have these early scenes, starting of course with birth, and then of course growth, and we have the kind of sex education scene. When we get to the growth segment, and that is one of the funniest sequences in all of cinema for me. I just absolutely love this sequence. We have Graham Chapman, Terry Jones, etc., all kind of acting as students, and of course John Cleese comes in, and just this hilarious dialogue here, of course, and just seeing, of course, as well the kind of the kind of PE sequence there as well. Just after that, wow, this is absolutely hilarious. There's kind of such a control here as well. For example, in that sex education scene, just so controlled here, not too over the top. It really is just so controlled and sustained. This comedy, and just so kind of innocent in it as well in itself, and just so silly, but once again, there is such a kind of relatable, the kind of these guys that haven't grown up in that sense, in terms of comedy, and it's just so great to see. Such a wonderful film, this, it really, really is, and of course we have the war sequence as well after that, and we have. Of course, the hilarious moment when you have the soldiers there, and hilarious sequence as well. And just going through this film, when I first saw it, I just loved the kind of flow of it. I actually appreciated the way it wasn't necessarily, full-on narrative with a kind of a traditional kind of arc in that sense. Of course, they all play different characters, as we go through the different stages. But that didn't bother me at all. In fact, I appreciated that. It's nice that we have Holy Grail, Life of Brian, that do this, and then the meaning of life is very, very different, and it's kind of thing. And I think creatively, actually, it allowed them to kind of, I think explore a variety of different, kind of approaches, and I think. Gags as well. This film, has a real variety. That's the thing. There's so much in the way of, visuals as well that are, just so varied, and it's just so much funness to kind of go through these different scenarios. They're all kind of, it has this progression, but it's kind of different in the different stages, and we get this combination of kind of variety and freedom, I feel, and also. Yes, this is kind of spiritually kind of progressed narrative, and then in the end it kind of ties all this together, and of course it has this these moments in the end where we have the kind of what is the meaning of life, the pondering of that, and then of course we have these jokes regarding that, but actually it kind of makes me think as well, and as I say, ironically, this is actually very touching and very impacting actually, even though it is very silly comedy as well, but I think that is the genius of Monty Python. It's kind of so engaging, so epic, and just so kind of engrossing, but also of course free in its comedy, and silly, and just innocent, and light-hearted, and I don't think these films at all, they're just so well intentioned. The intentions are all here. It's so sincere and honest, and I just think so harmless. There is nothing about these. There is nothing about these films that I think that are just anything but just innocent comedies, and I think as well making kind of some real interesting comments as well, and I just love how this, as I say, this narrative goes through, and just seeing these different, of course, the Monty Python members in these different roles. It's just so great to see the kind of the freedom here, and the variety, and just so great, because you get as well the kind of variety in the performances. Michael Palin, you can play kind of more of a serious character early on, and then we get to Sergeant Major, and just seeing that scene there, marching up and down the square, I've rarely laughed as much as that, I think, and yes, this film actually, in that sense, it does have certainly some moments, quite a few moments, in this, I think, are among the best funniest kind of Monty Python moments actually, and I think that is one of them. I think marching up and down the square, the whole kind of sequence there, with the army members there, it's just so great. And in the end, it's just kind of Michael Palin, Sergeant Major, and then he goes Sergeant Major marching up and down the square, and we cut to him just kind of going ahead on his own, and it's just so bizarre, so kind of just silly, but it's just so genius at the same time. This is so rare. You get kind of films like this, and I think this has got so many of them kinds of sequences with such a degree of quality in the way of writing, and again, just so creative. This film visually, it's a real treat, and just seeing, of course, all the costumes and them kind of dressing up. Of course, it's just so fun. Just light-hearted and charming. It's a delightful film. Of course, we have moments as well later on that are just some of the most uplifting, just magical, wonderful sequences, all of cinema really. The Galaxy song, of course, with Eric Idle performing this, and we have Terry Jones as well, once again dressed up, and we have this moment, where they kind of this Galaxy song happens, and again, very touching actually, and at the same time it's kind of bizarre and surreal, the imagery and stuff, and once again the animation to this I really love. I think just seeing as well the kind of the tree later on in the film, near the end of the film we have the kind of tree, the autumn tree, and the leaves falling off there. It's just that is a genius moment of surrealism, in my opinion, and just seeing that is such a hilarious sequence once again. But of course we have the Galaxy song, that's just so great, and of course ending, with the credits with that song again. I think that is kind of the defining, kind of song of the film. But so many great kind of musical numbers that are very ironic, of course, very silly and stuff, but they do make comments in themselves as well, and I think the lyrics, is quite genius as well. Once again, I think just the variety here. It's so wonderful to see. It's so inspiring, to see the creativity on display here, and I think just once again, very few slights here. There isn't really much that I could fault about this film. Really, of the main feature. I think yes, the Crimson Permanent Assurance. Maybe it didn't have to be as long. I think in itself it maybe didn't quite sustain the kind of the full mark kind of quality of humour and stuff there. But I think in itself, I love that sequence. I've watched that a few times actually since, and it's a great little kind of spoof on pirate films and just epics in general, and different cinematic techniques. I love this about Monty Python. Genres, elements, and different films. They kind of parody, but also just kind of different cinematic techniques, and for example camera techniques and stuff, and just editing. They make different kind of comments on that. I think it's just hilarious to see, and just seeing this sequence is hilarious, but I think that is the main thing that kind of maybe brings the film down slightly. But having said that, this is a remarkable film, and I think definitely my favourite films list. So that is, yes, maybe unexpected. Many would consider this kind of a lesser work of Monty Python. I don't think a lot of people would maybe say this is a really great film. For example, it seems to be very not as acclaimed at all. As Holy Grail and Life of Brian. But I would definitely say this is a great film. Really quite stunning actually, and I think yes, it's not for me as good as Holy Grail and Life of Brian, but not much comedies are, which is a spoiler for how much I love them ones as well. But of course, this film here, The Meaning of Life, so much kind of so much genius here, so much feeling actually. The atmosphere is really so kind of consistent and rich actually. There's a lot of depth to this film, and just as well the way I just love I really love how they went all out in the kind of production, of course as well. The kind of ending sequences as well. The musical numbers, just so lively, uplifting, of course, and yes, just full of energy. This film, there are very little moments where it's kind of there's kind of a flat feel at all. It's all kind of energetic and just full of vibrancy, and just really this film, it kind of uplifts me so much, and just it puts me in this mood, this great mood afterwards. A feel good film, but also as well, this has kind of got this spin on this. It's kind of actually very touching as well, and some real interesting kind of questions raised, ironically, about the different stages of life. And I think it's just really remarkable, how these guys once again, made a film like this, a kind of blurring of the lines here. And also it's just a fantastical film. This, as well as being, this specifically very, surreal, abstract, of course. The kind of the fish, sequences, and of course the really insane moment, in the center of the film as well. You have the whole fishy, this is, of course, when they come to the camera, that is full on, kind of surrealism, avant-garde, kind of comedy. I love seeing these guys, they kind of go full on over the top, but it doesn't feel like that, because all of them, such with such great actors, I think, and they can get away with kind of going, going to this point. They really just control, the kind of tone, as well, and the direction here by Terry Jones is spot on. It really is. I think this is wonderful, of course, and yes, he has some great roles in this film as well, and it's just great to see these guys, bouncing off of each other, kind of thing, and the creativity, it's so balanced as well. The kind of gags and the kind of screen time, in that sense as well. The six members, and just yes, the cinematography as well. Seeing the way the film is shot. This is very interesting, of course, and I think just the techniques they're using, and for comedy and just to kind of be visually appealing. I think it really is quite remarkable, once again, and the editing. This is really so well put together, and the flow of it. As I say, this kind of this flow narratively and visually, and just yes, the spiritual feeling, and the way it's kind of all tied together, and we have these kind of comments, and of course I love as well the kind of in terms of emotional, actual, you kind of something you can kind of I can see I can relate to, and stuff, and it's kind of quite a lot of feeling in it. Is the kind of waiter sequence, that is hilarious at first. We have, of course, Terry Jones, the legendary sequence with Mr. Kurosata, of course, and in the restaurant there, and I can understand if some people would feel a bit kind of queasy. Actually I did, after seeing that again. It's a very kind of gross house sequence, of course, the kind of vomit there and stuff. It's just really all out, kind of moment there. But of course, after that, we see Eric Idle as the waiter, and I love the scenes there. At first, it's really hilarious. It's one of the funniest moments in the film. He says, follow me, and he says, just a little further, and then he goes to kind of, he points to his house, and this really kind of emotional music plays, and he's kind of saying, he's kind of contemplating things, and this is the thing. That moment there is just one such example of. Actually, it's very touching and very human, this film, and I find that with Monty Python, I think silly, kind of surreal, and just light-hearted, but really human. And that's for a number of reasons, which it's very hard to kind of get into. But just human, in the way of using comedy that we can all kind of relate to, and it's just true. It's true to life as well. And seeing this moment, as I say, with the waiter, of course, it's just hilarious. It really is. But then it becomes touching, and that's kind of sums this film up. It's at once, hilarious, silly, innocent, charming, bumbling characters, of course, and seeing them, in these kind of bizarre sequences, going through the different stages of life. But then, of course, at the same time, it's got these moments that are quite subtle, atmospheric, and this mood, this kind of tone to it, and yes, touching moments, actually kind of spiritual moments. So yes, really wonderful film, this, and just absolutely, I consider this a really great piece of cinema. So to conclude, of course, I really love this film personally. I think everything about this film really, is staggering. There's so much creativity in this. I think the art direction, it's staggering. It really is. There's so much in the way of, great set pieces. There's so much in this. The costumes and everything. I just think seeing all of these six members, just with such original kind of writing here, and just seeing the performances, of course, such variety, because of course the film allows that, in its structure, and the form of it, of course, being sketches, more of a sketch kind of. Structure, but of course having the progression of the different stages of life, it allows for such creativity, variety, of jokes and visuals as well. I think, and just seeing, of course, this is a bigger budget as well. So there's so much, great, kind of set pieces here, and the production in general is quite something really. I think just a stunning film this, and I love just as well the different moments when the fish comment as well, on the film. So they're building it up, the kind of what's it all about, the meaning of life kind of thing. And I love all this. It's such kind of genius writing here at times. There is so much original comedy here, I feel, and it's outlandish, it's silly, it's just childish, you could say, and I love that. I love that about Monty Python. But at the same time, as being all this, kind of, and surreal and abstract, and maybe avant-garde, in a sense. I think it's really, just so kind of controlled, as well at times in its comedy and its writing, the gags, and I think just even moments, of course, Terry Jones's character later on in the film, in the restaurant there, and of course, eating, the whole restaurant out, and of course, then vomiting, all this. I think even that there is a control to it, and there is a kind of a way in which they kind of allow it to be that kind of big and kind of bombastic in that sense, but it doesn't go too far, and there is a real talent to do that. And I think that to call them the Pythons talented, they are some of the geniuses to me. In terms of comedy, these are the kind of some of the people that I look up to, and just kind of. They inspire me so much, and I actually love their work. Once again, this is no exception. I think the meaning of life is a stunning achievement. There are some slights, I think, and just maybe in the middle of the film, not as good as the rest of the film had been. There is a few things that could have been, just even better to the kind of masterful level, in that sense, and it would have got higher marks. And of course, the kind of short as well. Maybe it went on a little bit too long for my liking, but other than that, this is a stunning film, and I think very, very little in the way of flaws, and not really too many at all. And I just love this film. All six Pythons, once again, just so good in this, so charming, this film, so kind of innocent, harmless, and just feel good, but also it has some things to say, ironically, even though they're kind of parodying these kind of different the stages of life. They do actually make some really touching moments. I feel this spiritually, and then in the end, it's very, very sad. Some different moments, and also just the epic way in which it ends. With Michael Palin there, and of course the Galaxy song once again playing there. And I think this film really is great. Very little flaws for me, and I think this is all round just a stunning comedy film. Great production. This is such the design of this, it's so well thought out, and I think it's of course more of a sketch format, but I think actually that's a really great thing to do here, because the way they've done this, in tying it all together and having this kind of loose kind of progression to it, and the way in which they have a variety here, because of that as well, the different stages. I think they made it work, and that really is an understatement. I think this is a great film, and I would give this a very, very high score, personally, of a 95%. Yes, I love this film. I just could watch this all day, just like, of course, Holy Grail and Life of Brian. I think this is stunning. It really, really is. Hilarious. Pretty much in every single minute. It's just filled with multiple kind of jokes that are just hilarious. There is a relatable feeling about these kind of guys that have never kind of quite grown up. I think, and just seeing the silliness of it. The outlandishness. The kind of the charm of this, but also the moments where they kind of control as well, the performances as well. The characters, for example, more of the serious characters, the deadpan humour. It's all there. It's got a perfect mix really at times, and I think some of my favourite moments, the sex education scene, the kind of the marching up and down the square, and different moments like this, I think, and there are moments as well towards the end. I love the kind of Grim Reaper as well moment there, and the death sequence. That is really hilarious. It's kind of really creepy and atmospheric, and I love the locations. Once again, this is the thing. It really is so well put together. Production, locations, feeling. Not just kind of hilarious film. It's really got some staggering kind of comments, and I think just the way in which they blur the lines at times between kind of maybe kind of horror mystery, in them moments towards the end as well, drama, comedy, just this surrealism at times, and this really unique, strange but just genius, animation again. Seeing for example the tree. That it kind of calls back as well to the kind of moment in Holy Grail with the weather, and that moment there, of course, with the sun and everything, and it's kind of it's a moment like that, and I think it's just so surreal and just so different, but just genius. It really, really is, and I think it just works. This film works so well. There is a control to it. Terry Jones wonderfully directed this film. What a loss, and what a shame. What a wonderful person he was, and it's so tragic. Just so sad that he passed away this year. But we have these wonderful works to cherish. That's what it is, and of course I wanted to review this film, and I want to review all the Monty Python works. To support these legends, absolute legends, and just to kind of talk about these films, and of course as well, hopefully as well, as I say, as soon as I can. The Flying Circus TV series, so yes, but of course the main focus next is Holy Grail and Life of Brian, and of course yes, because I'll be watching, I plan to at least watch Flying Circus, and then and now for something completely different, because of course that is based off of it's taking different sketches and stuff, and putting them into a feature, so I'm not going to watch that before watching the show, kind of thing. So yes, but regardless, I'll be talking about Monty Python for some time. Yes, what do you think of this film? It'd be great to talk to Monty Python fans, and I personally adore this film. I think it's very underappreciated. Surrealism, abstract ideas here, but as well, just so it's got this wonderful balance, I feel, of drama and comedy, and really in the end it becomes quite a spiritual and touching experience actually, and it's just hilarious. The set pieces, the gags here, and yes, the art design, really something else, and of course the performances, variety and control, and just the freedom, there's a control to it, but there's a freedom to it, kind of a free feeling you get. Of course, that these guys are just going for it, and that's really inspiring to see. It's not too far, it never is with Monty Python really for me in these works, but I think there is something in the way they do control it, but it's free, and it's bursting with creativity, originality, and just thriving with energy, and just wonderful, joyous feelings. I absolutely adore this film, and of course, even more, I love Holy Grail and Life of Brian. So that will be overwhelmingly positive than reviews. Yes, they are even better than this, I feel, and we'll get to Holy Grail within the next 2 weeks maximum, for sure, and discuss that. So yes, tell me your thoughts. It'd be wonderful to know what you think of this, and yes, is there anyone out there who finds this to be a really great film? Who knows? Tell me if you do, because it seems like I really love this film, and again, I find it to be interestingly kind of maybe kind of got pushed under the rug. It's maybe more of a cult film, well, at least initially, than anything. And I think it'd be great to discuss this film. It's just very interesting, responses to it, and it's very, very different. So it's interesting to compare this to kind of Holy Grail and Life of Brian, etc. But yes, just tell me your thoughts. As always, all comments, respectful, welcome. So tell me what you think of this film, and just Monty Python discussions. Let's yes, discuss some of the most glorious, enjoyable and just magical comedy from these six legends, Monty Python. Yes, that's it for now. We'll wrap up. It's been great, and I cannot wait to discuss Holy Grail. And I cannot wait to once again rewatch Life of Brian and talk about that epic, legendary piece of cinema once again. So yes, expect some great responses from Holy Grail and Life of Brian. What will I give them? What rating will I give them? How high will they be on my favourites list? Find out if you're interested. And yes, some real positive things to say about them. So, as always, take care. And yes, thanks for watching.